Yeah, hi. It's Bruce Rouse here from Systemi, and I have with me Mary McGillicuddy from Arizona State University. Um, she's a career advisor, and we're going to be discussing sustainability careers. So thanks, Mary. It's really nice to meet you virtually and to be able to interview you. Um, My first question, Mary, is regarding there's lots of people now studying sustainability, including at your university. And I'm just wondering, sustainability is a very hot topic, but are there the jobs there for these people undertaking, master's degrees, many of them doing masters in sustainability? Are the jobs out there?
Sure. Well, so it depends. You'll see a lot of information out there, like LinkedIn just publishes their state of the green skills, and they're saying there are not enough people to fill the jobs. However, a lot of that research is including everything from like solar panel installers, people who are going to do retrofits on housing to make them more energy efficient, and also maybe a sustainability manager at a company. So while there are a lot of jobs, perhaps the people who are studying sustainability may have a more narrow vision of what they want to do, and those jobs are pretty competitive. I would say, for example, like a sustainability manager at a company, there might be one or two of them in the entire company. So it really depends on the sector and the focus to answer the question if there are enough jobs. I will say though, it's highly competitive.
Yeah, okay. That's really interesting to hear because, you see these, I think they get paid pretty well, sustainability managers. So I think it's a good job to have. Yeah. And maybe that explains the competition, but a lot of people doing masters, perhaps it's a bit, challenging for them to be able to win those jobs.
Yeah, and there are some people who have been in the sustainability field for maybe 10 years. Again, it's not very old. But those are the people that are highly sought after for those more senior level roles. And at this point, I think experience is still prioritized over education in this field. So when it does come to those higher paying jobs, they're looking for the people that have the years of experience, and not many of those people exist. So they kind of shuffle around the industry. But at some point, it will open up for people that have studied sustainability and followed a more traditional route.
So what would be the pathway that you're envisaging now for someone who studies sustainability, say at a master's level? Yeah. Because to me, I'm seeing lots of master's graduates in the sustainability career group, or people doing their masters or have graduated from their masters. And yeah, so what kind of career path are you kind of seeing that these people could take?
Yeah, well, if they're open to it, I think having or being on the data analytics side or the really highly technical side is where positions are going to open up. So if that's, ESG reporting or doing life cycle assessment, something more quantitative that requires more of the technical skill set, that's where I think master's level graduates are going to see the most openings. Great, you can still be a sustainability manager at a company or a consultant. There's definitely room to be a consultant as well. It's just important to know, without a lot of experience, which either getting through an internship or research, again, those who have experience are going to be prioritized over somebody who has a master's degree but no experience.
Yeah. Sorry, I keep jumping around the same question, but I'm
That's
kind of
okay.
curious. I'm kind of curious also about at ASU, like what is the most popular degree related to sustainability? I'm just assuming it's a master's degree, but is that the case? Are there a lot of bachelors or?
Yeah, so
Mhm.
at the College of Global Futures, we have about 1,200 students. More than half are studying sustainability at some level, but really the majority are bachelor level at this point. We do have Masters of Sustainability Leadership, which really is designed more for people who are already in the field. And then the Master of Sustainability Solutions, which is a little more hands-on and really looking at that project management side. There's a Master's of Arts, Master's of Science to be more on the academic side. And then we do have a PhD as well, which has been geared traditionally towards academia, but we always have PhD graduates who want to go into industry.
Yeah, great, great, great. Yeah, so it's interesting. You're offering different career options, and perhaps you could do more of a data science with your sustainability bachelor's or something like that to, combine it and get those skills that or engineering even. Sorry, I'm an engineer, so I gotta do a plug for engineering.
Yeah, I mean, one of my very good friends, he studied chemical engineering, and he is the sustainability program manager at a company. So having that really, really technical background does actually help if you're going to go into a company that does manufacturing or big supply chain. I think I'd be remiss if I didn't include government, and policy is also a huge role for people studying sustainability. Again, though, it's just a matter of getting some type of experience outside the classroom to show that that's your focus area and that's the direction you want to go.
Yeah. So then leading off from that, let's say you've graduated. What are the pros and cons of then saying, look, I want to be an intern to get that experience?
Well, the pros are it's kind of a low stakes, no pressure way to try out a career, especially if you're kind of debating between a couple of different paths. Usually they're short term, like 6 months, 3 months. So, and there's no guarantee or usually offer to stay on after that. So it's a great way to just get a sneak peek of whether a certain career path is a good fit for you. I would say a lot of programs, structured internship programs, are geared towards people who are still in school or like graduated within the last 6 months. So the timing comes in as careful. The timing has to be right. The downside, I guess, if you're already graduated, you're not going to be getting necessarily like really high level projects. It's considered a training and educational opportunity. So if you're expecting to be an employee taking the lead on things, that's probably not going to happen. I would also say in the past, a lot of positions have been unpaid internships. More and more companies are realizing how important it is to pay interns for their work for many reasons. So they're definitely out there, but there are still some, especially for nonprofits or even local government, they still a lot of times can't pay you for the work you're doing.
Yeah. I think also if you're a recent graduate, you're bringing a lot of skills that may not necessarily be recognized by say a person of my age. You'd be looking and you're bringing perhaps a lot of communication skills, engagement skills that are just natural to you because you've grown up in this kind of a different world. Yeah. And I guess from my perspective, I would say, interns, you don't be shy about what you can offer in terms of being well educated and kind of young and got that energy and that education and that curiosity to learn and learn quickly.
Employers really like the fresh perspective that interns bring. I think a lot of times it comes down to capacity at the org because it does take time to put together an internship program, make sure you have things for them to do, to check in. So if somebody says no, it's probably more of like a bandwidth or capacity issue than it is for not wanting fresh perspective.
Yeah. So when it comes to applying for a sustainability job, you being a career advisor, what mistakes do you see people making?
Yes, there are many common mistakes. I think a big one is pressing easy apply on LinkedIn or Indeed and not tailoring or customizing your resume and cover letter. It takes a lot longer to really make sure your resume or your cover letter match what the position description says, but it's more effective long term. So it's up to you. You can decide if you want to press easy apply, make no changes to your resume to 100 jobs and get 2 callbacks, or take that same amount of time and apply to maybe 5 to 10 jobs and also get 2 calls back. So, but the benefit of tailoring your resume is, if a company uses a very sophisticated software system to track their applicants, it's going to score your resume higher if you include those keywords that are on the position description. Humans also read your resume and cover letter. And I gotta say, when there's a cover letter that is really personalized to the company or mentions like how the applicant's values align with the company's, it really sticks out and makes a big difference. So that's probably number one, is customizing your materials. You have to do it, and it's worth the effort you put in. There are lots of tools that can also help you with doing that. So there are Resume AI helps you with generating bullet points. There, you can use a word cloud to identify keywords. You can even use something called jobscan.co that will kind of do a mini scan of what a tracking system would do and scores your resume for you. So there are easy solutions to that problem. Another one is using templates that are very colorful and pleasing to a graphic designer's eye, but don't fit well for a recruiter or applicant tracking software. So a simple black and white document that's one column and just has your content in one column is not only easier for the software to scan and score your resume, but also for a human to really scan and get the key information. I've talked to recruiters who say they look at resumes all day and the colors really hurt their eyes. And so they would rather just have black and white to keep it simple, because you want your content to show through, not your formatting. So I can't tell you how many times I have students, or even just like a Google search for ATS friendly resume template, and it gives back a colorful resume. So that's just not going to fly for more traditional roles. And then finally, the networking piece is a huge missed opportunity for lots of people. When I say networking, I really just mean talking to people who either have a role that you see yourself in the future or work at a company you're interested in. And a lot of times applicants wait till they've already applied for the position to reach out to somebody. And then they just say, hey, I applied. Can you put a good word in for me? And that person doesn't know you. So it's unlikely they're going to do that. So what you really need to do is at the beginning of your search, really use LinkedIn or your alumni network to identify people who are in the field and approach it as you want to interview them or learn more about their career path. And you can also think of it like you're collecting data to help inform your decision for which jobs you should pursue. So it's not asking people for a job. It's not asking them to put a good word in for you. It's really getting an understanding of the career landscape, what somebody else did to get to their path, and ultimately ask for recommendations for how you can get started. Then once you do apply for a job and you have a bit more of a relationship, that's when you contact them and say, thank you so much for your conversation. Really helped me. I ended up applying for this position, and I would love if you could just share that information with the hiring manager. So those are the three that I see the most: is lack of customized resume and application materials, really a resume template that does not comply with what people are looking for, and then not connecting with people that are in the sustainability field before applying for jobs.
Can we zoom in on that connection one just briefly now? I run the sustainability career group, and getting people coming in there, they're joining the group because they want to get work. So how would you engage with the group if you are looking for a job? What would your
Yeah.
activities be within that? Yeah.
So there's like a spectrum of engagement. At the lowest level, you can like some of the comments or the posts that people give, especially if it's more like sharing an article or sharing an opinion. Greater than that would be leaving a comment on that same post. But the most effective thing to do is look at who else is in the group. What are their job titles? What have they done before? Granted, you might be limited by their privacy settings, but I guarantee you'll be able to find somebody in there where you can review their profile, and then approach them individually through a message and mention you're part of the same group, and share, again, what you're interested in, which is learning more about their career path. I don't think it's extremely effective to put a post out there saying, I'm looking for a job. Please let me know if you have any suggestions, because again, nobody really knows you yet. And they don't know what you're looking for. So that one-on-one engagement is most effective. And the group is the vehicle in which to find those people to connect with individually.
Great. That's really, really good advice, because I've been advising people, come to the group, we'll introduce yourself, but you're saying, look, you got to go beyond that. You got to be, engaging with people, finding out who's in the career, who's already in the job that you want, or the type of job that you want, and learn from that person. Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
Definitely.
Okay. So just one more question, and maybe you've probably covered this, but kind of as a summary, what's your number one tip, or your top one, two, or three tips for someone who wants to get a career in sustainability?
Yeah, so this is tough to narrow down because there are so many different paths to go down and people with different stories, but I can never stress enough the importance of talking to people who are in the field already and using their insight and their experience to inform what your next steps are. It's also nice to just have friends and relationships on a very acquaintance level basis, just to know what's going on in the field. You never know when you might be able to give back to them as well. So it's a win-win, even beyond when you're job searching. I think another thing too, depending on the sector you want to go into, I think everyone really values technical skills, be that some level of data analysis that can just be in Excel, or it can be like coding. But those technical skills are a lot of times is what I see people lacking when they're applying for jobs, because it's great if you have sustainability knowledge, but if you can't apply that in a useful way to a company, to an organization, then you're going to be looked over as an applicant. So really focusing on trying, or especially to keeping up with the frameworks that are out there like GRI or CDP, having some familiarity and vocabulary to speak about them in an interview is very important. And I think too, something that can be helpful is, instead of starting with LinkedIn or Indeed to look at jobs, kind of go the reverse route and do a search for companies or organizations that do X, or any type of interest area that you have, and then look at what are their mission, what are their values, what are their programs, then look who works there and start connecting there. Companies, organizations are around a lot longer than a job opening on LinkedIn and Indeed, so you may be missing a lot of opportunities that aren't here right now. So I think that's 3. I could probably go on, but yeah, just not relying solely on Indeed and LinkedIn and big job search boards is really important too.
Yeah. That's awesome, Mary. Sorry, I've actually come up with one more question. I hope you don't mind.
Yeah.
There's a famous book called What Color is Your Parachute? I'm sure you're familiar with it. And it's about kind of analyzing yourself. Do you find many people, and this is this might be a tough question, many people love sustainability, but they don't really know what they're getting into? They don't, and they don't really know if it suits, it doesn't really suit them. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I can speak
Mm.
from personal experience on that.
Yeah.
I started my career in social work, working one-on-one with people that lived at a shelter for domestic violence victims, and I love that. But I saw a lot of system level dysfunctions, and so in my head, I wanted to optimize my impact, which is something you'll hear a lot, trying to find what is the way I can contribute the most to the most amount of change. So I pursued public health because that is very systems level. And then my passion has always been environmental issues. So, similar with sustainability folks. So I ended up doing fellowships at the Centers for Disease Control and the Environmental Protection Agency around children's environmental health. And when I got there, though, I realized the day-to-day of working at a place like that just does not suit my personality. It's very individual work. It's very admin heavy, staring at a computer, really not engaging with people like I was used to. So although I thought it was the dream to be at the Environmental Protection Agency, it really was not a good fit for how I wanted to spend 8 hours a day. So with that in mind, same thing for people now. You may love learning about a topic, and you should always be proud of that love. But think about how you want to spend the day, because unfortunately, unless you're still in school, nobody's job is to learn for 8 hours a day. So how do you want to spend your day? Is it with people? Is it by yourself? Is it working on a project? Is it out talking to people somewhere else? So with that book, What Color is Your Parachute? I think that self-reflection is the first place to start before you jump into the job search. I also meet with a lot of students or even alumni who say, again, passionate about sustainability. I say, what area of sustainability? And a lot of times I say, I'm really open to everything. And that's a tough place to start a job search if you're open to everything. You really do have to drill down and think about, again, the skills you want to use, but also kind of the subject matter area, and the industry. And if you don't know, that's okay, but try to narrow it down to maybe 2 or 3 paths and focus on those first. You won't know if you like it until you try it. So, but having some direction in your job search is going to save you a lot of headaches going forward.
Awesome. Are there any what color is your parachute is an old book, just keeps republishing. Are there any other better resources around nowadays that can kind of help you with that same introspection?
Yeah, so I really like the Japanese concept of ikigai, and I know there are TED Talks and books that have been written about it, but it's really looking at the intersection of what you're passionate about, what you're good at, what you like doing, and then what does the world need? Also worded as what can you get paid for? So there's a sweet spot between those 3 or 4 or 5. And so really identifying those keys in each of those categories will help you arrive at something that is a good fit. You might have to compromise on some of the things, but it really goes back to the balance of how you want to spend your day, not just what are you passionate about and what do you like to learn about.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Mary. It's been an awesome interview. Thank you. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your insights with us all. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.